Hello, Virginia. I am sitting here today on a beautiful sunny afternoon with the Assistant Bishop of Virginia, the Right Reverend Gail Harris, and currently the Bishop of the Diocese of Southwestern Virginia, Mark Bourlakas, who at the end of this month, at the end of May, will be resigning as Bishop of the Diocese of Southwestern Virginia to come here to the Diocese of Virginia to be our second Bishop Assistant. And Bishop Harris and Bishop Bourlakas and I are having a little bit of a conversation about what has happened and what's yet to come, and we're getting excited about it all. So we thought we would share some of this conversation with you all so that you can get excited with us about the wonderful ministry that we're engaged in, the ministry that we're going to be teasing out and experimenting with, and not being afraid to try some things and maybe occasionally fail and then get better at it. So welcome to our conversation. So I'll turn first. Bishop Bourlakas, tell us a little about yourself and why you're excited about coming to Virginia.
Well, again, Bishop Stevenson, as you said, I'm finishing up this month, and I've been sort of containing my excitement of coming here, trying to be with the people in those final months in Southwestern Virginia, people that I've loved and ministered with for some 12 years. And but now that I had my last parish visit Sunday, it's nice to turn my face towards this and getting super excited. So it's nice to be with you all here and start talking about it. Today we're meeting to do a little strategic planning and talk about what I'll actually be doing besides the sort of normal bishop things that I understand already.
How has the process of saying goodbye been?
It's been tough. My family and I have been there for 12 years. All of our girls were grade school age when we came. My youngest graduates from Elon University this Friday, and she was 8 years old when we came. And so they've grown up in the diocese. They have been part of our youth programming. They've been with us at churches. People got to know them. They've got to know Martha. So, when you make a home in a place that long and get to know the people intimately, and we have 50 parishes, so considerably smaller than
that's mighty nonetheless.
Yeah.
You really get in that size is sort of relational. You get to know people pretty well. So it was even hard to sort of choose where would I be in these final days. We had a nice farewell kind of a party a couple weeks ago, and so we're ready.
Now, I want to come back to our conversation, how we were this evolved between the two of us with work. But I want to know, Bishop Harris, do you remember when you first met Bishop Bourlakas? Do you remember how?
I remember a couple of times when you've spoken, and of course in the social hours and fellowship time that we have with each other, and sometimes just caucusing about how do you feel about this or think about that. I remember those times, but I don't remember the first time we talked either. But I know from the beginning I had a wonderful, warm feeling.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think when you, again, 12 years, it's hard to remember back that far on anything.
Unless it's something dramatic.
No drama. Never drama.
No drama in the House of Bishops.
You were the dean of the cathedral in Louisville when you were elected. And before that, what was your parish experience?
So before that, I was the rector of the parish in Davidson, North Carolina, where Bishop Curry was my bishop.
Oh, my.
And then I was in the Diocese of Upper South Carolina as both a curate, as an assistant in Greenville, and then in a parish near Columbia.
So you've had a wide range then of experience in the church in different types of parishes.
Like parishes before being.
Tell me how all that has come to form you to be the person of faith that you are now, a leader in the church. How does those experiences of the past, how have they formed you in your approach to ministry now, and what you're looking forward to in your new role here?
My emphasis in all of my parishes is evangelism, discipleship. So how can we, as a group of people, love each other and love Jesus enough that we have a healthy community and that we can go out and be Christ's body in the world. And I've always kind of stressed our facing into the community. And that was challenging in a couple of my smaller parishes where they liked the community that they had here and had a hard time focusing out. But we got there, and the communities were healthier because of it. At the cathedral, I had the great opportunity of serving in Inner City Cathedral. And I remember when I was interviewing there, their questions were, how can we get people who've left the cathedral to come back? They'd moved to the suburbs. And what would be your vision for getting them back? And I said, I'm not sure I'd have a vision for that, because we have a community. There's people live down here. Their families and people live here. We were 2 doors down from a Section 8 low-income housing development that the cathedral had some role in creating. And I said, there's lots of families there. And you could see that at first a little bit like,
but we don't know them.
That was all we were really thinking about. But that became a ministry of the cathedral to turn our face towards the city instead of the suburbs. And so, again, making disciples, I think, for me, has been a passion. And so equipping leaders, I've always said you can't give away what you don't have. So if we're not building that, healthy community, being as Benedict called it, a school for the Lord's service, as a parish, and learning how to love each other, we can't do it anywhere else. And so that's a sort of common thread, I think, all our parishes, and they've all grown because around that emphasis that we're willing to love each other and then tell the story of Jesus.
It's interesting what you said about looking out into the city. I had to deconsecrate several churches in Massachusetts, and in the case of each one, they stopped reaching out or identifying with the community around them, that they became so insular. And that becomes, I think, deathly in the spirit. And so you're saying that the cathedral, even cathedrals, need to reach out into their community, or it is a spiritual lack of awareness, and you can't grow when you don't experience new things.
I forget where I saw somebody, some conference showed a picture of a church, and there was sort of grass all growing up, and there was a for sale sign. And then someone had placed a sign in front of it that said, this church went out of business because it forgot its business. I thought,
That's good.
It's a wake-up.
That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, our business is Jesus, and our business is, transforming people's lives.
What are you curious about Virginia, and how are you going to bring your own sense of curiosity to match those up as we go forward?
Right. Well, when I came to Southwestern Virginia, I began talking about us becoming the missional church. It was kind of buzz language at the time, but we as a church were asking that question of how do we get to know our neighbors and our communities? And we worked really hard on that, and it took a while for people to even adjust to what's that word missional mean. Bishop would keep using it, and I would explain that how do we get to know our neighbors? How do we get to know who we are in the context in which our parish finds itself? And that was a slow start of a conversation of a few years with our parishes, because while they could answer a little bit what they were doing in the community in terms of outreach, asking questions about how the neighborhood had changed around them. And it's always happening, right? Our parishes think they understand the community that's around them, but if they get out and really look around, it's shifted in some way. And then to ask questions about what's our ministry now in this time. So I'm curious, I always like to work with clergy and lay people about how they see their ministry in the midst of the context in which they the Holy Spirit has them. And one of the things I'm excited about working with the two of you is, I think sometimes people see bishops as just sort of administrators, or they're over there somewhere. And I found when I feel most successful, when people feel like I'm doing a better job, things when we can share the experiences that we see. We're in one place and we see what's happening there, and we can share it with another place or connect. Functioning as connectors, right? They're like saying, you should talk to that person because they also started a community garden, or they are feeding people. And, we're the ones who go around and see a lot of these places. And they sometimes, we have parishes, as I'm sure you do here, they've never seen a parish over in that region of the diocese.
Or realize that they have the same kind of parishioners or same kind of demographics or what have you. And they're maybe across the river or across the mountains or across a valley.
Learning over here can be something.
Mm-hmm.
And this conversation reminds me of the importance of how I think we're trying to set up this mutual episcopate, and that people should know that you will be living and when working primarily out of Northern Virginia. We have office space at the Falls Church. Thank you very much to the Falls Church folks for making that space available to us. But we should be real clear that it's one episcopate, that all three of us are bishops in the Diocese of Virginia, and while you are a bishop who you're not the bishop of Northern Virginia. You're a bishop who happens to live in Northern Virginia, which actually provides some great opportunity for pastoral care and immediate contact with a bishop in one of our larger population areas. So there's a sense to that. But it's going to be really important to the three of us, I believe, that we are part of the entire diocese, and the diocese knows that all three of us are connecting with every congregation.
So the three of us are not native to this diocese. We weren't brought up and lifted up in this diocese, but we've come to this diocese in our ministries. We are being lifted up by this diocese, but also how do we get to know each other as a diocese, not as bishops? That's easy because it's just three of us. But how do we get to know each other? Where is it that and how is it that we can come together and say, not only I'm from Virginia, but I understand what that means in the context for other people in another part of the diocese. How do we get to know each other?
The great thing is that people here want to get to know us and want to get to know each other. So providing opportunities to connect people, I think, is a big part of what we do. You're going to have, what's the old adage, when you're first learning something, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. There's going to be that. I would say I'm down to now, after 2.5 years, it's a fast-moving garden hose, but not quite the fire hose. But there's a steady opportunity to get to know more about the diocese and to help us learn about ourselves. The work that we're doing around racial justice, the work we're doing with reparations, the self-studies that we're doing diocesan-wide and in various congregations. Some of our congregations have been reporting to me they're learning things about themselves that they just never knew. And these are people that congregations that have people in them that have been going there for decades, and they're learning more about themselves. So we're in this mode, I think, of self-examination and corporate examination that we're stepping into with our experiences across the church. We all have experience that the three of us have broad experiences across the church, that we come into this historic, holy place that is the Diocese of Virginia. I think God's going to do and is doing good work.
One of the things that, when coming back to your talking about how do we get to know each other, right? We're investigating and learning. Sometimes I think that I was impressed when I was at your clergy retreat at first of all, the number of clergy, your clergy there, and the diversity of those clergy. We don't quite have that same diversity in Southwestern Virginia. But sometimes people see diversity or difference, especially if you live further away from me, as a problem instead of it as a real gift. Like, what are the things that are that they're doing in that region that we're glad they're doing it? And what can we learn from it in this region? I mean, what are the challenges in Northern Virginia with people losing their jobs? And
yes,
and how are parishes responding to the fear that Hispanic people have in some of our parishes? And what are we learning about? What are some of the things that parishes in Richmond have learned through the struggles after COVID and George Floyd? How are some of those things together? So have this huge breadth to draw from.
It's interesting. I've served large dioceses primarily, and being in those large contexts, what I love about being here is what you have done about gathering us together, both at clergy and other clergy retreat and other times, trying to look at how the regions can get more information to the people in the pews about possibilities, growth, ideas. But what I love the most is how you have transformed diocesan convention. I think you call it Diosis and Council, really. It's convention. It is convention now. It used to be council, I think.
We changed it too.
Yeah. It's a convention. But that it isn't about passing resolutions. It isn't all about business. We're not there just to speak to our own belly buttons, as it were, speaking to each other's belly buttons, but we are there to be enriched and equipped to do the ministry. The fact that the convention, 90% of it is workshops, conversations, networking, learning about possibilities. That is absolutely brilliant.
So we've talked a little bit about the fact that each of the three of us have brought a lot of experience into the diocese. And so what we have now are three bishops who have experience being a bishop. And so you coming in, you're not having to learn the basics of what goes into the official acts of a bishop. That kind of thing. My hope is that now, with Virginia finally back to a state of back to a situation where we have three full-time bishops, that the administrative work. I mean, you talked about how bishops sometimes just get relegated and thought of as only the administrators. Well, now that the administrative role, which is necessary, it's an important, that administrative role can be divided up amongst the three of us, plus some additional staff. We've got a good staff structure now of executive leadership with canons and ministers, and so we're tooling the staff in such a way that the ministry can be resourced well. But that stuff that we would normally do, or you would do as a solo diocesan bishop, is now split up amongst the three of us, so that we can actually, the three of us, can spend more time out in the and around the Diocese of Virginia, getting to know people, getting to know ministry, and for me, that's really exciting. Because
me too.
I don't know. Some bishops may really love sitting there going through files and signing remarriage applications and that sort of thing. I would much rather be doing school visits and it's dropping by parishes in the afternoon. Or if you get a call from a church that's 50, 60 miles away, you don't have to worry about the nuts and bolts of what you've got to get done. You can just go do it. So, what about that as you make the transition from being a solo diocesan onto a team episcopate? How do you see that affecting your ability to say hello and get to know people?
It certainly was a big piece of my discernment in this, as I said earlier, in this life stage of my ministry, to sort of free myself up from a lot of, in a medium-sized diocese, the bishop really, with a smaller staff, we have that 12, really is involved in a lot of the day-to-day stuff, and I found myself sort of in Roanoke and in Dot's house a lot more than I wished to. So I'm really looking and excited about pointing them in your direction when some of that stuff has to do, but also to have a large staff that can handle pieces that frees us up to do the kinds of things that I'm really interested in: parish development, clergy development, vitality, our congregations, evangelism, things that I have a passion for.
So one more thing I think we should note, and that is that my name is Mark, and your name is Mark. Right? So I think that Bishop Gail Harris seems to be renamed. And so what do you think, Marcia? We'll go with Marcia. Is that what we're gonna do?
I'm more like Martha.
Martha.
I want a biblical name.
The biblical name. Okay, so
That's my wife's name, man.
That's all right. I'm in trouble now.
But it is a good biblical name, Mary.
Mary, right?
It's got to have that.
Maybe home darn.
It's got to have a Mar in
That's
it.
right. Yeah, it's
Gail changed her name.
we can.
You could be Gabriel. Yeah.
Oh, I have that too.
Yeah, George, Gabriel, yes.
Well, thank you all for this conversation today, and thank you for saying yes.
Oh, well.
Yes. We're going to have fun. We're going to get a lot of love out there going in discipleship, in loving Jesus.
How do you share that? I think that passion and being able to share that with people, they can see it, so that they can show it to the world.
Well, Diocese of Virginia, here's a small, short insight into the working relationship that we'll have, and the wonderful gift of ministry that Mark Bourlakas is bringing to the Diocese of Virginia. I know that you will welcome him with open arms, as you have welcomed me and Bishop Gail Harris over these last couple of years. It truly is a great place to be. The Diocese of Virginia is a gift to all of us, a gift from God. So thank you very much for this time. Remember to love Jesus, embody justice, and be disciples, because we are the Diocese of Virginia.
Amen.